Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Boone here from EWPRO. Starting with the DXY, I just want to go over the W1. So on the W1, we got a an ABC. Now this may be a contracting flat. So there's two scenarios here. We do have a possible bear hidden here. So really we want to see that top broken to take out that possible bear hidden and go and break the top, or the bear hidden plays out and we get another one down for some sort of a larger correction in here. So really on the W1 there is no real direction yet, because we got a contracting flat in here and we're never going to know if it's a contracting flat or not until the top's broken. Looking at the daily, we're looking at this internal WXY, X2, Z up. We lost our bearish divergence. So I'm looking at this as an extended wave in wave Y. So we get a WXY, X2, and then a Z up. H4, nothing's really changed since last week. If I just go back to that daily, you'll see that we're getting a similar pattern on the H4. We got a W up on the daily and a very deep correction before we got an extended wave in here. Now, if we look at the H4, we're getting a very similar structure. We got a W with a very deep pullback, and then we get an extended wave in here, WXY, X2, and a Z up in the wave Y. So we're getting a very similar structure on the H4 as what we did on the daily. If we look at the H1, we got a bull hidden here. So you can really only look for the buy to go and break the top to give us that bearish divergence. We already had bearish divergence on the H1, but yeah, looks like we're getting that bull hidden, and more than likely will go up. And these are your targets here, the 123.6 and the 161.8. It's not something I would trade because we're at the top of the market. You know, very risky. You want to wait for the larger X2, H4 X2 before you look for that Z up. Looking at the AU on the daily, a lot of fibs on here. So we're looking at that WXY, X2. We got the Z down. We lost the bullish divergence on the X down, Z down, and we're looking for a correction and another one down. And now we have that bullish divergence. We have a impulse up here. It's not really impulsive, but on the daily you can really only look for a correction and then a buy. You have to wait for this correction before you can look for the buy on the daily. On the H4, nothing's really changed since last week. We got a WXY. Looks like we're going to get some sort of an X2, and then we'll be looking for that Z up. On the H1, you can see that we had a nice bearish flag here. There is a bull hidden here as well, but as you can see, that was quite corrective. So we're looking for an A, B, C down to this 100 fib before we look for that Z up. So if you do get a little bearish setup in here, you can look for that sell, first targeting that 100 fib. EU on the daily, very similar to DXY. I'm looking at it as an extended wave. So we got a W, X, Y, X to Z down. We've lost all our bullish divergence. So I'm looking for the larger structures of WX, extended wave Y, then we get an X2 and then a Z down. H4, we don't really have anything. We just have one wave down. So really we need some sort of a correction. We've got an impulse up. We're looking for a correction in here and then another one up. Really, there's really not much you can do on the H4. So if we go down to the H1, you have to be very careful because we have a bear hidden here. We have that bear hidden. So this may go and break that low, giving us a bullish divergence. And then you could look for the buy. But again, you're going to have to be patient and wait for the low to be broken. You need that low to be broken and then, you know, a bullish setup to buy. As for the sells, you know, you had a little flat in here on the lower time frame, so I look at it, you know, you could, if you're in that, well, you'd want to start taking your profit. But yeah, there's not really much you can do with it at the moment. GU on the daily. So this is, so we're looking at that WXY. We got the X2 with the bear hidden and we went and broke the low. Problem is now we don't have any bullish divergence. So there's more than likely more downside in this after a correction. Looking at the H4, a little bit slow internet. But like I said last week, we can get down to this 161.8. So we got a WXY, this wave Y can get down to that 161.8, and then we get an X2 and then a Z down. Yeah. So really we want to wait for this wave Y to be over and then look for a 38.2 retracement in the wave Y. On the H1, we are starting to get bullish divergence. So once this wave here is over, if you get a nice impulse up, ideally it goes and breaks that top and then gives you a correction, and then you can look for the buy. You really need to wait for the impulse, correction, and then you can look for the buy. At this stage, I wouldn't be trying to sell this. At this stage, we have that bullish divergence, and yeah. So you just got to wait for a setup, basically. NU. On the daily. So like I've been mentioning for so long, months now, you know, there's so many different structures in here. We got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So is that the end and it's a complex correction? Well, that's possible. And then we get that A, B, C. We're getting that C up if we look at this as the complex correction 333 structure. Yeah. H4. This is So we got a big correction in here for a WXY. There is no bearish divergence, so it's extremely difficult. This B wave may not be over as well. We may get an A, B, C in here, and then another one up going breaking the top to finish off that B wave. Because I'm looking at an A, B, C on the H4. I'm looking at this as a B wave because it's so choppy. You know, it's extremely choppy in here. It's not impulsive, so it's making it very difficult to trade. On the H1, you can see we had a nice correction in here. So if you are in this, you know, you're targeting the 100 fib. You definitely want to be taking half off at the 100 fib. And yeah, if you get, if it goes and breaks the low, breaks the trend line, well then you'll be looking for like a WXY X2 and then a Z down. But that's, yeah, getting a bit ahead of ourselves. If you get a little bearish setup in here, you know, a little flag or something, you know, you could look for that sell down to that 100 fib and definitely be moving to break even and taking half off at that 100 fib. UY on the daily. So on the daily, you can see we're getting a lot of bearish divergence. You know? So it's not really something you want to buy up here. We finally got to that 100 fib, you know, for the like the A, B, C. So we got to that 100 fib. There's no sign of reversal. So on the H4, looking at this like a WXY, you can get up to that 161.8 X2 and then a Z up. We got an internal. Like, this is difficult because this low here never went broke that low. So this is a very deep correction, which made it hard from the start. And we may be getting an extended wave in wave Y here with a WXY X2 and then a Z up to finish off that wave Y. So really you need to wait for the correction before you can look to buy. So we got a large correction in here. We got a WXY, wait for your X2 and then look for the Z up. Yeah, we don't have any bearish divergence. Up here, I wouldn't be looking to buy flags. I mean, very risky. I mean, we can get up to this 161.8, but yeah, I'd be waiting for the larger correction and then looking for the buy. Unless you're just scalping the sell, you know, in the X2. Looking at the Ftse on the daily, this is becoming very complex, like I've been mentioning. Just looking for that A, B, and a C. I was looking at this as an A, B, C in here, finish off that, and then we get that A, B, C, but instead we got all this in here. So we don't really have any clear structure in here. We know it's a B wave because of how choppy it is. You know, all this is a B wave, whatever's happening in here, and even the B wave can even go and break that top, but it's still going to be a B wave. Eventually we're going to be looking for that C down, and that's what we don't really want to miss. But it's very difficult to trade in here. Last week on the H4, nothing's changed. You know, we're looking for this A, B. We're looking for that C up to that 100 pip. There is no bearish divergence. So, but between the A and the C, we are getting bearish divergence. So eventually we will be looking for that sell, but we need to wait for this C up to be over. It's really too late to be, you know, buying, because we got a H1, we got a W, X, Y, X2, we're getting a Z up and we're getting that bearish divergence. So I'll be waiting for wherever this wave ends. If this bearish divergence holds, I'd be looking for impulse down and a correction or a flag, something to sell, and I'll be looking for the sell. At this stage, there is no buy or sell set up on it, but yeah. UCAD on the daily. This is quite confusing as well, because like I've said, we've got an A, whatever's happening in here is a B, and then we'll get a C up. Sort of looking at an A, B, C in here for a running flat. So we get an A, B, C. Unfortunately, this one didn't go. We just got all this mess in here. So it's becoming very complex, very difficult to trade. H4, like I said last week, I wanted to see this go further, this C wave. We got an A, B, C, then we got a trend line break, and now it's gone and broken the top again. So it's become very complex. You can really only look for buys now because we've broken this top. So this may be some sort of a flat in here for an A, B, C up here, and then we get an A, B, C. But at this stage, because we don't have any bearish divergence between here, you can really only look for the buy. It's becoming very complex. It's not something I would look to trade at this stage. There's no real clear structure on it. I mean, we can look at that as the A, B, C. Do we have bearish divergence? Yeah, we do have bearish divergence between the A and the C. It's yeah. If we go down to the H1, you can see that we still can't buy. We still can't sell this. We have that possible bull hidden. So we need to break this low here to take out that possible bull hidden before we look for the sell. Really, if you're looking for the bull hidden, you need to go down lower time frames, wait for a higher high and a correction, and then you could look for the buy to go and break the top for that bull hidden, possible bull hidden that's at play. Yeah. GY on the daily. So we got the 5 up, had an A, we had that possible bull hidden. I don't believe we have broken that top yet, this top here, for that bull hidden to play out. Looking at it, A, some sort of B, and then a C up in a B wave before we get the A, B, C as a larger correction before we get more upside. Yeah. The H4, nothing's really changed since last week. We're looking at this as a B wave, just got a little bit more downside. So really, see, more than likely we'll get a bear hidden here. You know, we may get a bear hidden, so it's really risky because B wave may not be over. If we go down to the H1, see what we're getting. Yeah, see, I don't think we have any bullish divergence. Yeah, I don't believe we have any bullish divergence, so it's really risky. This isn't looking impulsive here either. I mean, there is a, you could look at that as a little flat in here for an A, B, C. We're getting bearish divergence. I don't believe that downside's over yet. I dare say, you know, I mean, there is a little bullish flag here. You could look to buy that. You definitely want to be very careful, and you're really only scalping because wherever this ends, this A, B, C, wherever it ends, more than likely get a trend line break, bearish setup, and you'd look for the sell. Very risky buying because we have that bearish divergence already. EG on the daily, we have, we'll just zoom out. So we got that WXY X2, very choppy Z down. We get a lot of bullish divergence. Like I said last week, you know, this can be a flat in here for an A, B, C before we get an A, B, C for more downside. So you really need to watch that. H4, you can see we got some sort of a large correction in here for an A, well, a WXY. 3 breaking the low, so it can be an A, B, C, and then we get more downside. Really, there is no sell setup for the sell, and we have a higher high, so it's going to be difficult. And really, I'm only looking for the buys on this. You know, like I've been saying for months now, you know, I'm only looking for buys because we have all that bullish divergence on the daily. Really need to go down on the H1 and see what's happening here. So we got the higher high. So it's very difficult to sell for that flat. Sort of got an A, B, C in here on the lower time frames. You really need to go down to lower time frames. Wait for a trend line break for the buy. You'd need to wait for this to be over and then a trend line break. You really want a nice impulse up, bullish correction or flag, and then look for the buy. And if you're looking for that sell for the possible flat, bearish flat, you really need an impulse down here. Unless you're looking for a bearish flag in here, something to sell, it's going to be risky. Me personally, I'll be only looking for the buys. But you have to take into consideration that this may be a flat to go and break that low. Looking at gold on the daily, this is extremely complex as well. We had that bear hidden here, but we never broke the low, and we got 3 down. So we got an A. Really, see, this has gone too far now. You know, it's gone too far for that flat for an A, B, C, and then you get that A, B, C. It's gone too far. So the structure on the daily is, there is no real clear structure. So it's something you really have to you're only scalping if you're trading it, and it's something I would stay out of at this stage until we get a clear structure. Last week we were looking at WXY, waiting for the X2 and then a Z up. Nothing's really changed. We've got a wave Y, waiting for that X2, then we'll be looking for that Z up. So we're looking for a retracement back to the 38.2. It's already back to the 38.2, but we're looking for a correction a similar size to this over here before we get that Z up. So at this stage, I would be, unless you're scalping on the lower time frames, I'd be staying out until we get that time, the time factor completes. On the H1, we're starting to get bullish divergence here, but this may be an A, B, we get a C up, and then we get like an A, B, C. I mean, there is a little bullish flag happening in here now. You know, if you're going to trade that, you're only scalping because it's a possible A, B, C, and then it fall over on you. So as soon as you get in it, it could fall over on you. Very risky. And like I said, on the daily, there is no real clear structure. And on the H4, we're waiting for that time factor. You could put a sell stop under here and wait for that C at the A, B, C, put a sell stop on, and if you get triggered, well, you'll be looking for the 100 fib A, B, C. Yeah. Really, yeah, not much you can really do. I mean, if you get one up here and then you get a sell set up here somewhere, that would be the go. If you get a sell set up on the lower time frames up the top here, instead of putting a sell stop down there, this would be the go. A lot safer, and you don't have a large stop. You have a very minimal stop loss. So yeah, but me personally, I'll be staying out of this until there's something clear. WTI on the daily. This is so we got the WXY X2 Z up. We've lost all our bearish divergence. So more than likely there is more upside after a correction. Really need to wait for a correction before you start buying this. You know, I mean, there is talk that it's going to $200 a barrel and stuff like that. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be buying at the top without a correction. You know, on the H4, very difficult. We're looking at WXY X2, and then looking for that Z up. We got the Z up, but then it's just kept on going. We've lost all our bearish divergence. We do have a possible bull hidden here, so more than likely we'll get another one down, and then we'll go and break the top. Wait for this correction before you look for the buy. On the H1, so look, nothing's really changed since last week. Looking at WXY X2 and then a Z down. It's not giving any setups. You really need to wait for whatever's happening in here before you look for a sell. Yeah, really need to wait for a setup to sell, and then you'll be looking for that buy. You really need, yeah, it's very difficult because even on the H1, you know, we got a lower low, so really you can only look for the sell. You really want to wait for the correction and then look for the sell setup to sell. and then you'll be looking for the buy. As soon as you get bullish divergence, you'll be looking for that buy. Yeah. Bitcoin on the daily. This is not really playing the game either. When we got this, we bounced off this 100 pip here for like A, B, C. Bounced clean off that 100 pip. We got a nice impulse up, but then we got that very deep correction. If this was a C as the flat, you know, we would have just, I was just looking for a correction in here, more upside. Instead, we got a very deep pullback in here, which has made it very difficult to find the direction. This is very choppy. On the H4, like I said last week, this C up never went and broke the top. It may be a contracting flat, but we're never going to know. At this stage, I'd be staying out of this altogether until we get a clear direction. Whatever's happening in here, I believe, is corrective, but it's incomplete. Yeah, because we never broke the top. We never broke this top of wave A. We're getting very deep corrections, like impulse, very deep correction, impulse, very deep correction, making it very difficult to trade. Last week on the H1, I believe we still do have that bull hidden. Yeah, see, we still have that possible bull hidden. I was looking at WXY, X2 with the bull hidden, and then a Z up. We're waiting for that set up to buy. This wave here, as you can see, it never went up and broke the top, so it's very difficult. There is no direction. That's the problem. There is no, even if you're scalping, there is no clear direction. You're just going to get cut to pieces. I would be staying out of it until you get a clear structure. I mean, this can turn into anything. Like, we could get an A, some sort of an A, B, C in here before you get an A, B, C, A, B, C. This can become very complex, and you're just going to get cut to pieces if you're trying to trade this. More than likely, I mean, I can't even really say more than likely this bull hidden will play out, because it hasn't played out. There still is another bull hidden here, like, you know, between these tops. So you may get an A, B, C up in here. So yeah, be extremely careful if you're trading this at this stage. S&P on the daily, this is not really playing the game either. Would have really liked to see like an A, B, C in here, but we never got that. We do have a lower low here, so you can really only look for sells on the daily. H4, it's not really playing the game. We got an impulse down, and I was looking for an A, B. I was looking for this C up in here. Instead, we got a big correction in here. So it's not really playing the game. Again, it's not giving us clear direction. There's no real clear structure. Last week, we were looking at this like A, B, C. I was in here somewhere. But yeah, it's extremely choppy, because, you know, this is a little flat in here for an A, B, C in here. So really, you know, I mean, if you get a sell set up in here, you can look for the sell, but it's really only a scalp for an A, B, C. It may go and break that low, it may not, for a larger A, B, C as a running or expanding flat before you get more downside. Yeah, you really got to look for the structures and trade accordingly. But at this stage, you know, you would be looking for a sell set up in here, bearish flag or correction on the lower time frames to look for a sell. AU 200 on the daily. So we got the 5 up. Look at that WXY, X2, Z up with the bearish divergence. We got a lower low, so we're only looking for sells. We need to wait. You know, we got a nice impulse down. We're looking for an A, B, C, some sort of a correction before we look for more downside. H4. Nothing's changed since last week. I mean, we got a high here. So we got a lower low. We got a bullish divergence here now. But again, got to be very careful. Like, I am looking for an A, B, C, but this B wave may not be over. Just looking at the price action, you know, this can be an A, B, C up in here for a running flat, and we get an A, B, C to finish off this B wave before we get an A, B, C, before we get the larger A, B, C. So again, if we have a look on the H1, extremely choppy. You can see we had a big correction in here with an A, B, C. There's no real clear setup. I mean, we have bearish divergence. That's about all we have. You really want to see this go and break that low. Give you a sell setup, and then you can probably look for a sell, but go and break the low. But yeah, extremely difficult in these times. Looking at the DAX on the daily, we got a WXY. This is a very large correction impulse here. So we're looking for whatever's happening in here. We're looking for X2 before we get a Z down. We're already at that 38.2. H4, you can see here, we got a bear hidden. So really, you know, you don't want to be looking for the buy with that possible bear hidden. On the H1, let's see, we have bearish divergence. You really need to wait for a trend line break, this low to be broken, and then you definitely have to wait for a sell setup before you can sell, because this can be an A, some sort of a B, and then a C for a running or expanding flat before you get another one up. And it's the same as AU 200 as well. You know, if you're going to look for that sell, because we do have the bearish divergence, you have to wait for that sell setup. It's no use just looking for a sell in here, or wherever, a sell without the sell setup, because more than likely you just get taken out. You know, you'll get into a sell, and then it'll shoot up and break the top, take your stop loss out. So you need to wait for the setup. The Ftse on the daily is very similar. You know, they're all very similar, these in the indices. This was strange because we broke that top. I was just looking for an A, B, C in here, and then possibly more upside. We have to look at it as one impulse down. We got a lower low, so we're looking for whatever's happening in here as a correction before we get an A, B, C. H4, really have to take this off because it's not a flat. H4 again, you can clearly see we have a bear hidden here. So get some sort of a WXY, X2, and then a Z down. So you'll be looking for that Z down. Again, you really need to wait for the setup, because again, you know, this can be a flat. You may get a running or expanding flat in here for an A, B, C, but we are looking for a sell because we have that bear hidden on the H4 and we have bearish divergence. So if you do get a sell set up, look for the sell to go and break the low. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. Share, like, subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.